Hey everyone, this is Catherine Mitchell. This is my Crate 11 for Media Literacy ED486. For this Write 11, I read It's Complicated, The Social Lives of Network Teens by Dana Boyd. I actually picked this book at random from the list on the syllabus at the very beginning of the semester, but I ended up really liking the text. So Dana Boyd takes a different approach in this book than a lot of books that I've read, in that she kind of breaks it down chapter by chapter by different myths and issues facing teens in terms of social media and social networking. And she kind of goes through and like debunks common myths. And she does it through interviews that she's done over almost 10 years with teens in different areas from different demographics. So it's a really well-rounded book. My top text to self connection came in chapter 4, when she talks about blaming technology. She does this whole like 3 pages of just anecdotal reviews about times that people have blamed technology for tragedies, deaths of students from bullying, deaths from people not getting answers when they reach out during depression. And that kind of hits hard because in public safety and in military service, we have such a high rate of depression and suicide, and a lot of people reach out on social media. So we're always taught from a really young age in the fire service to kind of be our brother's keepers and watch out for stuff like that, because depression is the silent killer of public safety. So that's a really important point to hit home for me. As far as my text to text connection, in chapter 5, she talks about how adults and teens have different definitions of bullying. Adults tend to apply kind of this broad blanketed definition of bullying to anything that kids do is mean as bullying. Anything. You pull a kid's pigtail when you're 3 and you're bullying. And then teens have a tendency to have a very defined view of bullying, and they have this new term, drama, that comes in. And a lot of books that I read, as a teenager about teenage angst, and I think that's pretty common. And a lot of them are about bullying and how to kind of navigate those developing interpersonal relationships. So she kind of hit the nail on the head there with that chapter. And then the text to world connection, in chapter 6 and 7, she talks about how prejudices kind of permeate through social networking, whether or not they're intended to. And I took that to be, I think people feel more open to saying things that aren't socially acceptable. I think people are far more apt to make racial comments on a Facebook page because they know if they made them in the context of having other people standing around them, it wouldn't be acceptable. So I don't know why it's considered more acceptable in social networking, other than it's a victimless crime. There's nobody directly there receiving your comments that you can see. And I kind of segued that into the idea of, she talks about digital immigrants versus digital natives. And people assume that children who've grown up with technology are digital natives and they're just masters of it. And really, they're not. They have to be taught how to navigate it and how to really be a thorough user of it, just like we do. We're sitting here taking a media literacy class, and really anybody who's going to go through higher education or even finish high school really should take a media literacy class. After taking this class, it's really become known to me how much I didn't know and didn't understand about media. So this book, I really do recommend it because I think it's a different take than what we got out of Potter's media literacy. He kind of, when he talked about children, talked about more young children who are still in their moral formation. And I feel like by the time they're teenagers, they have that very basic moral foundation down, and now they're building on their own personal identity and their own personal likes and dislikes and stances on issues. And that's what she focuses on here. And I just like that she debunks some myths. Like, she talks about in here how people assume that there are going to be sexual predators on the internet. And she cites lots of studies that prove that that's just not true. Such a low percentage of people are actually affected by sexual abuse from a stranger that they met over the internet versus a family member that they connected with over the internet. So I liked this book. This is a book that I'll definitely recommend, and I hope more people use it next semester. Thanks, guys.